Now, it's just take a second and go back and change the chat so I can see them at a glance. And then we'll talk about what we're going to get started on today. Again, we're going to be talking about Celtic knots and about Nordic dragons. All right, just give me one more second here. Okay, this plan is not working out at all. Okay, I got Facebook up so I can see it. I've got, what is it, Periscope. All right, unfortunately, I've created an absolute better the way it was before. See if I can put these tabs back. Okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and get started, and I'll take some time during the stream to try and get the mess I just created fixed. What I did is I tried to pull apart the tabs on the chat so that I can kind of overlay them and see all the chats at once. Yeah, that didn't work out well. So, and it has to do with the resizing of the different pages. So anyways, what we're going to be talking about today, and I'm actually very excited about it, it's going to be Celtic knots and how to draw them and Nordic dragons. And I'm going to go ahead and put up the design that we were working on yesterday. Or at the end of last week. So this is what it is. And what this is here is this is a design for a Julabaka flood. And I hope I said that correctly, but what it is it's a tradition in Iceland that occurred, came into existence after World War II, where they share books or they exchange books on Christmas Eve. And then the tradition is that on Christmas Eve, they get into bed, they read the books that they exchange to each other, and eat some chocolate and get ready. You know, is a good wind down time right before Christmas, so you know the kids and everything can go to sleep easily. So anyways, it's a great tradition. I love it. I mean, what a terrific idea to get into bed, just read a new book. Chocolates doesn't hurt either. And So anyways, it was a neat tradition, and we wanted to do a t-shirt for it. You know, there are a billion Christmas t-shirts out there, and we'll try and do some of those as well. But when we were drawing out the different elements, you know, we went through in the live stream, we concepted out the idea, you know, we started drawing the different elements of the composition. We started putting it together. You know, I wanted it to have that Nordic, Icelandic feel to it. And so there's a couple things that we incorporated in here that I'll go over real quick to give it that feel. The first thing is we did, you know, that one of the things that we saw in ancient Celtic drawings and in Nordic drawings that they shared is the Celtic knot. They would have a lot of very similar knot work in Nordic and Icelandic art. And keep in mind that I am far from an expert on this topic. You know, I did extensive research over it by Googling it and reading a couple of articles quickly. But that being said, as my disclaimer, if I say anything that's not correct, please let us know down in the comments. I would love to know. But based on the little bit of reading that I did, is this knot work is shared by the Celts and the Nordics and is seen throughout a lot of their ancient drawings. The other thing that's seen specifically to the Nordics is dragons and sea dragons. And so I wanted to incorporate some of that in the background also. So we had talked about doing some making it look like a wood etch into a headboard. I didn't do that. And the reason being is that it was starting to get just a little too busy anyways. And I probably should have removed that little, you know, put some random looking lines around the dragons, between the dragons and the Celtic knots there on the headboard. And I did it to give it a sense of randomness, of hand-drawn, something that's not, you know, as even. And originally I wasn't going to do the Celtic knots. I was going to do just some lines separating it, but it looked too much like tiles. And I could keep working on this and, you know, work on it so that, and give it some shading and a little bit of depth and make it look like it is carved into the wood. But, you know, the other problem is you would have to go in and, you know, you can see the design of the dragon. I drew the dragon and then I flipped it. But I would have to go in and make the dragons look a little bit different because they didn't have digital artwork back then. And nothing, you know, you wouldn't see things that are exactly duplicated. So that being said, I want to go over quickly what Jalabakaflot is and explain to you why the elements here are important. Well, I'm sorry, we did just cover that. So we've got the chocolate there, we've got the book, and we've got a ribbon on it to show that it's a gift. We made it look like cross stitch as the, you know, into the pillow. Now, one of the things I said I was going to do was take it into Photoshop, and then I was going to do some mapping to make it look like it curved a little bit with the pillow. That was going a little bit too far. I was at home because the kids were sick over the weekend. The youngest one had a fever, and so, you know, the end of last week was spending time with him, and then over the weekend, and mom was out of town, so it was up to good old dad right here to make sure I was available, take care of the kids. So, you know, that's how I spent my weekend. As a result, I didn't have access to Photoshop, so I did it by hand. And, you know, I can go in there and kind of give it a little bit of a curve to it to make it look like it's, you know, fitting the contour of the pillow a little bit more, maybe at the top of the R and the Y. And I might go in and do that. But, you know, quite frankly, I don't think most people would notice. We have the pull marks on the pillow, which gives it a little bit of dimension. And so anyways, this is the design we came up with. You know, you see it has that kind of homey feel with the cross stitching. You know, we've got our book and our chocolate, and we've got our shout out to Icelandic or Nordic culture. So, you know, it has all the elements that I really wanted to try and achieve in this design. So there are two parts of it, though, that we are going to go over in more detail. One is how to make a Celtic knot. And the other one is how did I draw the dragon? And I'll show you an easy way to do it. So what I would like to do real quickly is I didn't introduce myself. So I'm going to take a breath, slow down and say, hi, I'm Charles Longino. I'm the owner and graphic designer for Aspie Tees and Gifts. And today we are going to cover Celtic knots, and I'm going to show you how to design a simple and easy dragon, Nordic dragon. And so one of the things I would like to point out real quick is that if you could leave a comment down in our comment section. I do check the comments periodically throughout the podcast, even though I'm usually looking down and drawing to respond to anybody. I would love interaction and people to ask questions, especially if somebody has any kind of knowledge of this tradition or of a little more in-depth knowledge of Icelandic ancient drawings or art, Nordic art, or even Celtic. And we can kind of go over that. But I have managed to make an absolute mess out of my chat windows, and I can't seem to get them all back together. So it's not easy for me to just hit a tab right now. Wow, I really made a mess out of this. Let's see, let me try this again. I'll put that there. I'll stagger them up at the top. That's what I'll do. And then that way, and I'm missing one. I've got Twitch, YouTube's, and I don't see the Periscopes. Did I somehow delete Periscope? I don't know. Oh, I see it in the back now. Okay. So that one. All right, so yeah, now I can at least come through here and do that, do that, do that. There we go. And then down here for this one. All right, I can now at least check them. It's not what I wanted, but I have at least undone some of the mess. I don't think it is any worse or better than where we started. So at least I got us back to where we were. But please leave a comment. I will do my best to periodically check. And we will go ahead and get started. So let's see here. And I'm going to do it all in this file here. As you can see, I haven't quite gotten rid of my cough yet, which is amazing. Been lingering for like a week and a half. All right, so let's turn off what we've got here. Let's create a couple of, well, let's start here. And this is going to be our Celtic knot. And so the first thing you want to do is I'm going to go up here and I'm going to grab a brush. I'm going to create some lines, and we're going to create a small grid. Another way to do it that, and then we're going to draw out the grid. Because I had to do more than that, what I did is I had taken the pixel pen or tool, pixel tool here, and I'd spaced it out so it made basically a checkerboard like this. Can't really tell there if that's about right or not, but then you can kind of draw it, not too much space in between it. So we'll come back here. What did I do? Well, what I did is I had come in here and grabbed the square, and and then I had reduced it so that there was a little bit of space, about equal space in between them. And then I think I did just a line at a time. I did it like that, and then I came back and I did it. But they were touching. So huh. Anyhow, I had taken that pen, or the pixels, and I had done this, and I'll have to go back and take a look at that. Maybe I just got lucky. Let's see what I did. Here it is. So anyways, I was able to create these two lines, and we can create check marks like that, or we can come up here. I'm gonna turn that off. So what we're gonna do here is just grab some straight lines, or you can grab squares. I really want to try and do it how I had done it the other day. That was just a little bit easier way to do things. Give me a second just to look again. I hope everybody had a wonderful weekend. I know that we did. The kids were sick, but we still had a great time. Everybody was at home. We go out and got to relax, enjoy each other's company, have some downtime, which was great. All right, let's see here. You know what I did? This is what I did. I'm sorry. A little bit bigger. We didn't even go bigger than that, like this. And that looks, if you get to about 50% right there, that should be, evenly spaced. I drew a line here, and then what I did is added another layer, simply copied it down, transformed it so that I moved it just like that. That's exactly what I did. So anyways, that gives you a grid, and then you can come back in here and we get that a little bit tighter. Then we will come back in here, we will merge this down, and then I'm going to erase this out so that we only have 2 lines of 3. So, and then we'll resize it again. So I'm going to come back in here, grab this eraser, give me a little bit bigger nib, get rid of that, get that off of line, do freehand. And this is 1, 2, 3 up to here. Get rid of all this. All right. And so we'll reduce this nib down. And this is the thing that I just love about this program. I can just zoom in real quick, clean something up if I want to, zoom back out. That's awesome. I just take my 4 fingers, tap it on the screen, or it's 3, I think. Yeah, and it puts everything back to where it needs to be just by a simple tap. All right, so here we are. Now I'm going to take this and I'm going to transform this. Ooh, there's some more ink in there somewhere. 100%. And again, this program that I'm using is called Sketch Club. It's only on the iPad. It's by far, in my opinion, the best drawing app out there. So let's go back in here and grab this, and we are going to just make it bigger. All right, That looks good there. And then what I'm going to do is just lower the opacity on it. Now, another way to do this, and I'm going to go ahead and show you that, is, and I'm going to do it right here. Well, I'm going to give myself another layer and then I'll just merge it down. Is you can come in here, you can grab your brush pen, grab a line right here, and then what you want to do is just make, you know, a couple of lines. Like that. They're parallel and evenly spaced. You can eyeball it because, you know, we don't want it to look like it was computer drawn, so we want some variation in there. All right, so this is just that top one's not straight. That still look a little crooked. And again, you know, it doesn't have to be perfectly square. You know, do the best that you can. All right, so we have this here. What I'm going to do now is just transform this, move it over to the side here. So I wanted to show you the, you know, two ways you can do it. If you don't, you know, if you're using a pad of paper or something, just draw the grid out. You can just do it by hand. Doesn't have to be exact. Try to get it, you know, as even as you can. If you have a computer and you can just draw some evenly spaced squares, do that. Just do it the simplest way that you can. I'm going to merge this. Well, let's put this back up. Merge this down. Then we'll lower the opacity again. Add another layer in there. Okay, now what we do in order to create a circle, a Celtic knot, is we want to come back in here and imagine that there's a box around this. I probably should have drawn one. Let me do that quickly. I'm sorry. All right, there we go. So now we'll just kind of merge this down again. Give us that layer back down here, lower this opacity, grab that circle. Now we're rocking and rolling. Okay, so we are going to turn the camera back on, because I'm as pretty as Muhammad Ali. And we are going to draw some circles, just some small circles around. Whoop, I can tell that's on the wrong layer because of the opacity. So, you know, they don't have to be exactly even. Try and get them about the same size, you know, and put a circle on each corner. And you don't need to spend a whole lot of time on it. You know, again, we want them all about the same size. If you see one's a little bit smaller, you might want to come in there and just kind of make it a little bit bigger like that. All right, and then the other thing that we have to do is we would have to put a circle here in the middle of it. Now, one thing to note when you get done with this is that, and I'm going to leave this up here for a second so you can have a chance to really look at it, is that you need to keep in mind that the size of the circles, you can go big or you can go small, but the space in between two of those circles is going to be the space, how thick the thread is. Was that what you would call it? Or the tape that we're going to use to create the knot. So the space in between is going to be how thick that portion is that we're going to weave in and out to make the knot itself. So if you want it to be big with little space in between, you would use smaller circles. If you want it to be smaller, you know, so that you can have a more open design, then you would use larger circles. So so we did that one there. I want to show you here, you know, what it would look like if you just simply drew a grid. You know, again, you just want to grab that, draw circles on each corner. Yeah, I like doing it this way because I can just put the pin right there where it crosses and just pull out, and it will draw it with that being the center of the circle wherever I lay down the pin. So it just makes it easy and fast. Again, I'll just put it down here. I'll check the chat window, see if anybody has any questions yet, and this will give you a chance to kind of catch up or take a look at it. So nothing there, nothing there, no questions there, no questions here. Okay, so we are, I guess, you know, this is pretty simple, so and you know, and pretty easy to follow along. So what we're going to do at this point is we're going to draw parallel lines. And what we want to do is between any of the, I'm going to grab a line here. I'm going to put up another layer. So I don't have to come back here and erase these out. All right. And we can even come back here to the circles and lower the opacity on these as well. I like to do that so that I can easily see the layer that I'm drawing on. And also I can see if I'm accidentally drawing on the wrong layer. I've done that once or twice, and it's a nightmare when you realize it. But you want to come in here. What we're going to do is draw parallel lines, and the line has to touch two of the circles. Okay, so we go in here and we grab, see what I'm doing there? We've got a line there between two circles, and then we want to draw the parallel line. All right, and you can see these circles are not exactly even, so there's a little bit of a taper going on between those two lines. They're not exactly parallel. So what you can do is back it up and just kind of eyeball it and make it parallel if you want, or if you want that more natural looking design like somebody actually drew it out by hand, don't worry about it. And you can also go back later and eyeball it. If something doesn't look quite right, you can go back in there and fix it. But now that we've done that, we want to do the T. We want to create a T on it. So we're going to do the one up here, and we'll just extend this out so that we're touching like that. So, you know, when you're doing it, try to do it, you know, from this point over. So it sticks out a little bit. And again, you know, I wasn't centered there in that square, so that's the problem there. But you know, I was rushing. I'm actually, that one's so far off. I'm going to come back down here. I'm going to grab the selection tool. That back on freehand. And I'm just going to move that to where it should. And I was going to say, I could tell by the bounding box how square we are, but there must be a mark in there or something because it's not completely square around the circle. So anyways, that looks good. I can see this one's off too, so I'll grab that one. I'm sure this one's off, yeah. I could have done a better job of that, but I was rushing it. So let's get back here and get back up to our layer. We are going to grab the brush. We're going to grab that straight line, and we are going to soldier on, by George. So now we want to keep creating T's. So, you know, any direction that we can create a parallel line that creates a T, we are going to keep going. And we are just going to do it until we fill this up. That. Now, I can't do it here. I can't create a parallel line here because there's no circle up here. So we're going to just leave that open. And we'll come back down to the other side of this and just draw a parallel line. Parallel line. I'll come back and close those up. Can't do it there. We're done there. We can do parallel lines here. So we'll do a parallel line. We can do a parallel line here. We can't do one there. Can't do one there. So I think we have one more that we can do. That I can see. Whoops. All right, so now we're going to take it off the line free-handed, you know, and just kind of come back here and fix these up. Make sure everything is adjoining nicely. All right, how does that look? That looks like everything's adjoining. Now what we want to do is the ones where we couldn't make a parallel line, all we're going to do is just connect things. So we can see that, you know, if we come out here and we come around, we are going to be joining up with this tape. Thread. What should I call it? A thread? That thread. So as a result, what we're going to do is just join them up. So we're going to just take our pin here and we are going to just kind of draw this around here like this, around the circle. And then you can either draw this depending on what you like so it looks nice and smooth here, or what you can do is just come up here to the corner, you know, come down here about to there, wherever this would come up. So you can kind of create that kind of look to it, and we will actually go there. All right, so, you know, that's how you do it. Personally, I prefer the smooth one, so I'm just going to draw that. And you just come to the bottom of that circle. Just make sure that you're in between, and that, you know, the circles there are to show you the width, you know, that you want. And so, and then you just keep doing that all the way around. Like that. Wow, that's a terrible job. What the heck? Now it's starting to take an interesting shape. I don't know what the problem with my freehand drawing is this morning, but it'll survive. Now I gotta tell you, the one that I did over the weekend, I took a little more care with, but you can see what it's gonna look like. You know, you can come in here and clean it up a little bit. You know, we'd want to get rid of that. You know, obviously that wouldn't stick out. Whoops. Get a little bit smaller nib on there so we can shave things down a tad. But with the one, what I was saying is the one that I did over the weekend. took a lot more care with, so it came out a little bit better than this. But and then what you can do is you can come in here, and if you're doing this on Photoshop, it's real easy. You would just grab a gradient, put it on another layer. Let me grab a different color here so I can show you what I'm talking about. You can make a square right over this on a different layer and make a gradient, you know, from dark, you know, light going out this way. And then you can put it, you know, flip it over, do it on this side also, you know, where it's light out that direction. And then what you can do easily in Photoshop is just make some, you know, gradients there. Otherwise, if you're not using Photoshop and you're using a sketching app like I am, you would have to do it by hand, which is not that big a deal. You would just simply, you know, you'd use some dots, cross hatch it. You can actually just, you know, create different opacities and then smudge everything together. So, you know, you can easily do that just to give it a little more texture or a little more dimension to it. And it's a neat look, you know, and this is kind of a cool thing you can do. Once you're used to making the knots, you can start kind of envisioning the circles there and doing it freehand. You know, if you're doing like a Zentangle, this is something that you could do as well. You can also make this as long as you want, and then that way you can have like a long ribbon like what I did here. Let me pull that up for you. Let me just turn those layers off. I kept everything best I could so I can show everybody. But, you know, this is where I started. I started drawing, you know, some lines. I'm like, this is for the birds if I've got to sit there and make even squares out of everything. So then I came and I made the checks here, which was a lot easier. And you can see on top of my checks all the circles that I drew. Let me, that has the opacity up, but you can see here all the different circles that I put on there. And then what I did on top of that, I don't know if I can. And then I just started, you know, drawing the parallel lines in between the circles. And then what did I get? Let's see. These. And then what I did is just copy, you know, my ribbon down to a new layer and then made my grid the way that I wanted it to. So this is just one ribbon that I made that I copied down and then would transform it into the position I wanted it, and then transform down another one. So this is the same ribbon with a bunch of different iterations. And then, you know, what I would do is just come in here. This is under the design, so I didn't do it here. But then I would just erase it so that one would look like it was on top of the other one. And I just did it in kind of a back and forth pattern. And so that's how I ended up, you know, with my Celtic knot there. So you can see you can make it as long as you want. But, you know, just for illustration purposes, I just did 2 lines by 3 lines. Now, the other thing you can do is you can put a lot more. You can do it by 4 by 4 if you want. And then if you're designing knots, you put something called a break line in it to create all kinds of cool different designs very easily. And someday, I'm not going to go over that today, but at some point, you know, if we have enough time at the end, I might come back and show you how to do the breakpoints. But man, can you easily create a lot of different very cool Celtic designs. Now, you can say Iceland's not Celtic. It's not, but the Celtic knot is shared between a lot of different cultures. It's most known for the Celts or the Celts, but Nordics use this type of design almost as frequently as the Celts did, based on the research that I did, which again is very limited. I'm far from a Nordic scholar whatsoever. I read a couple of quick articles, but from what I read is a lot of these same patterns was used in ancient Nordic drawings. And it makes sense because Denmark or the Vikings came over to England, and at that time the cultures would mix, and and honestly, they probably mixed long before the Vikings went over to England. But somehow, we can see a lot of similarities between the two, and they're close together. Makes sense. So this is a Celtic or Celtic knot, and it is used in ancient Nordic drawings as well. So that is how you do it, and we'll come back up here, and you can see the design again. If you want to give it some dimension, you would just simply come in here and shade it. Think about the easiest way to do this. You know what? With the vector tool, I can do gradient. Let's see if this is going to work. I did autofill. All right. Get back up to our layer here. We'll actually add a layer. And I'm in red. So let's go to black. Or even like a dark gray would be. Okay, like that. And then what you could do is, obviously you'd want to put it under there. And then here we can take what I would want more than smudge is blur. There's blur. Smudge is down there. Good. Get a nice big, and keep in mind it's on the same layer. So we smudged it out, or blurred it out there at the end. And you can see, easily we were able to shade it. And I can even just take this same square, add another layer, copy it down, and then just hit transform, do a flippity flip. Let's get rid of that and that. And you can see what I'm talking about there. And then, we could actually bring these two down, merge, and then we could add another layer here, copy it down, transform, and then just kind of bring it up. And we could grab that, make it a little bit wider on that one, and then you can come back in here with an eraser, just erase everything that's outside that line. But having a tool like Sketch Club just makes doing a lot of this kind of stuff a whole lot faster and easier. Do another one. Turn this. Huh. What a mess. Almost like I rushed through this. Anyhow, you get the idea. I think I'm going to go ahead and just finish this up real quick so you can see what it would look like if you gave it a little more dimension. So let's do another copy down, transform, bring it over to the here, and then what we'll do is just kind of You know, in Sketch Club, if you put your pencil down until it blinks, you can just move that one corner or that one transformation handle. And again, we'll come in here and we will just grab the eraser real quick. Give ourselves a little bit bigger nib, make it easier. Erase that on out of there. And when I get done with these couple more, I'll check and see if there's any questions. So if you have any questions, make sure you take the time to leave a message or make a comment down in the comment section, and I'll answer any kind of questions you have. We definitely want to be able to interact with you. That's the reason we do this live. But we're working on making a Celtic knot. I'm showing you how to design a Celtic knot. If you're just joining us, you can go back and you can watch it when we're rewatch the beginning of this when we're done and see how to easily create Celtic knots. This is just the basics. And again, you know, we can go over a little bit more on how to do more complicated knots. But this gives you all the basic idea behind how to create them, so that you can come back and you do all kinds of complicated knots if you want to. So we'll come back and at some point, either today or another stream, and I can show you, if there's an interest, how to do more complex Celtic knots. So anyways, I'm just showing you how to create a little more dimension to it by, you know, easily just creating some gradients and then just copying it down, and then we'll transform it over to here. And again, this is one where I think we're gonna have to just stretch it just a little bit. Move this down just a little bit. There. And so then we can grab our eraser and come in here, clean it up. Actually fit pretty well. So you know, we've got that down. We can continue doing this. Add another layer. Copy this down. Hit transform. There we go. I think I got that right. Yep. All right, and the other thing, well, no, little piece there. All right, and then again, we'll clean this up. And, you know, like we've talked about before, the program I'm using is a rasterized program, which means that anytime we make a change like this, it is destructive to these pixels. And usually when you use the transformation tool, it becomes blurry if you resize things. Just like in Photoshop, it becomes a little more blurry, a little quicker in this program, obviously, than Photoshop. But what we're doing with gradients doesn't really matter because it's all blurry anyways. I mean, that's what we do. And the other thing is, like on this one, if you come over here and you see it and you're like, you know, that's a little bit too harsh of a break because I've transformed it so many times, you can just come in here with the blur tool. We're on the right layer. Yeah. Blur tool and kind of clean it up a little bit. You know, right there at the edge. You can take your eraser with a low opacity, you know, like that, and put it down here to, like, you know, 2, and come in here and, you know, move it back if you want to edge that back a little bit. Whatever you want to do. I mean, you have lots of controls here at your fingertips. And, you know, I don't know why I was doing that. I'm not on that layer. So, again, we'll just keep going around and cleaning this up. I do I'm gonna come up here, and it just bugs me looking at these things popping out like that. Am I on there? Oh, I brought the opacity down to 2. Turn that back up so we can actually erase something. All right, so now it's starting to look like we're getting a little bit of dimension. I see a couple more that we can do, you know, real quickly. So, you know, what I'm going to do this time is just bring up another layer, but I'm going to come up here and get one of the first ones we did that hasn't been, you know, mushed all out of, you know, in all different types of shapes. And so I'm going to copy this down, and then I'm going to transform it, and I'm going to move that one. Oh, lucky me, right there. We'll grab this corner. Wait until it blinks on me. I don't want to mush it down too much. We want to get it further together. What I might do, just take the whole thing like that, bring it down, and then what I can do is switch it this way. Let me try that again. And you can even do it in 2 stages if you want. So you can click done and then transform again. I was thinking it would square up that box a little bit more and didn't. Top one's done. I can come in here and grab my select tool. I want to just do one. There we go. All right. So let's see. We got that one, that one, that one. Oh, one more. So let's just give ourselves another layer here. Copy down, transform. That on there well? Nah. Gaps up there. There we go. That's better. Again, we'll erase it out. How's that look? That looks kind of cool. Get my light and my camera back on here. Okay. Ta-da! My name is Charles Longino. What we are working on today is I'm showing you how to easily draw Celtic knots or Celtic knots. I'm not quite sure how. Heard it both ways. So anyhow, we're working on a Celtic knot. It's actually for a t-shirt that we have designed for an Icelandic tradition called Jólabakaflod. And again, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that exactly right. I did extensive research, which includes reading 2 or 3 articles that I looked up on Google. For me, that's extensive research so that we can give it an authentic Icelandic feel. And I hope that we have, you know, after this huge, massive body of research that I did. But we are, and I'll show you the design again in a second. But one of the things that we had incorporated in there that you see frequently in ancient Icelandic drawings and Nordic drawings is similar to Celtic knots, that kind of interweaving of ropes or tapes to create these designs. So it wasn't, when we talk about a Celtic knot, it wasn't just the Celts that did it. It was, actually we see it in Roman. We see those types of designs in Roman mosaics before they made it to England, and in lots of different cultures. So, but is probably most well known for and prevalent in the Celtic um, uh, tradition. And so, but the Nordic peoples used it as well. And so we have incorporated that into our drawing. And I just wanted to quickly take a little bit of time and show you how to draw out a Celtic knot. So let me stop real quick and just check the chats and see if we have any questions so far. And I don't think we do. Okay, so it's pretty straightforward. To just kind of recap, we went and we made a before I do that, let me just merge all this down. Whoops. Okay, turn those off, turn this on. So we just made, you can either do it by making a graph, or you can do it just by some like a checkerboard design. And I just lowered the opacity because it was on a different layer. Picked another opacity and drew circles on all the corners and in the middle of each of the squares. And I didn't do a very good job when I was drawing it to make sure that they're evenly spaced. If you're doing this by hand, you can go back and kind of clean it up. You don't have to worry about having the circles the exact same size. You can see here that mine aren't. The larger the circles that you use, the smaller the tapes or the ribbons are going to be. If the smaller or the larger, what did I say before a second ago? If it's the smaller, it's going to have larger ribbons. If it's smaller, it's going to have larger ribbons. And so depending on the design that you want and how much space you have in between them, because the circles are basically spacers. And so then we go in here and we simply connect everything up between those spacers, and voila, we have a Celtic knot. And so you can make this as long as you want, depending on how many circles and how big you want your grid to be. And you can create all kinds of designs using this technique with what they call break stops. They use this basic technique. It's real simple. And you can put break stops in it and make all kinds of amazing Celtic knots. So, but it all starts from this. This is the basics. And you can see here we did a little gradient work on it real quickly. If it's too dark, we can come in here and we can lower the opacity on it. So, it's not quite as dramatic. So that's how you do a Celtic knot. I hope that's interesting. Please, take a minute to leave me some feedback. It would be greatly appreciated. Also, if you've been watching any of our streams, that anybody who leaves a comment, whether you just say hi, you can just let us know where you're watching from, and we will enter you into our weekly drawing for either a t-shirt or a tote bag with any of our designs you want on it. It's an easy Christmas gift that you can get for somebody. And all of our stuff is that we have here. I'm going to do a quick commercial for you, but we use excellent t-shirts. The ring spun, I've gone through and explained the difference between ring spun and regular cotton t-shirts. They're nice, soft, very breathable. Our tote bags are large and spacious. We actually screen print it. This is not cut vinyl. And we have a full screen printing working shop. We also have a direct-to-garment printer that we will use if we have more colors in our designs. We also do sand carving, where we have a large sand blasting cabinet, and we can carve all kinds of designs into mugs and serving dishes, all kinds of things. And so So this is where this is going to go. We're at www.aspbtees.com. This is a great place for you to go and shop for Christmas. You can get all kinds of gifts for Christmas and Thanksgiving, knock a whole bunch of different things out. We have lots of different products. We're adding new designs and new products all the time. So come back and check in. And again, join us as we work through our designs. I do all the design work here. And before we get started on how to draw a Nordic dragon, I am going to quickly come out of here. Come out of here. Well, you know what? Let me just save that. Go back in here. I did it in the same file. I'll just have to go back and erase it now. Which is the one that showed everything? What did I do there? There we go. Needed to merge it down. I'll merge that. Merge down. Come on. There we go. Okay, so here's the design that we created. And this is for this Icelandic holiday that we've been talking about, where they exchange books and chocolate on New Year's Eve. I'm not New Year's Eve, I'm sorry, Christmas Eve. And so we wanted to create something for this holiday. We wanted to make it look cozy. Part of the tradition is in the books that you exchange, you get into bed with a little bit of chocolate and you enjoy some chocolate and read the book as you drift off to sleep the night before Christmas, so you can be good and ready when your kids get you up at 4 o'clock in the morning to run out and look at presents. It's a great tradition that started at the end of World War II due to the rations, and we've talked about that. But this is the design here. We came in here and I made this look like cross stitch to kind of look like it was stitched into the pillow itself. If I wanted to spend a little more time, if I want, I might kind of wrap. Let me grab a pen, different color. Going right here on this section here, I would just kind of wrap it around the edge of the pillow, because you can see, with it being a relatively new pillow, not mashed down too much, it's got the fluff in it, and this would be right here would be kind of a curved area. So I might go back in there and just curve the letters up in this area. For the rest of the wording, it's probably going to be pretty flat, so I don't need to worry about that too much. But those are not big deals. The only people, I'm probably the only, if I went in and did it, honestly, I'm probably the only person that would notice it being done. The way that we can do it is we can simply just to show you, not expand, cancel, come in here and grab the select tool, just come in here and grab the area I think needs to be adjusted a little bit. It transform, and it's going to do it on the same layer. I'll only adjust these pixels. Now once I do it, it's going to become a little more pixelated, and it's probably going to separate a little bit from the ones outside of the area that I circled. I'd probably have to come back in and just kind of clean it up a little bit. But we could, grab this corner here, and then we can just try and give it a little more dimension there. And again, whoops, doggone it, there's no back button there. I get for being lazy. All right, done. There you have it. Again, I'm the only one that will ever notice. I can even come in here and just grab this section right here and just try to see. It should be making it a little bit smaller. Anyways, so you can do it like that. I don't think it makes much of a difference from here to there. Maybe a little bit. I don't know. Let me go back. Yeah, okay. I like it enough. And then what I'll do is I'll just take my pen here. First it's red. Why wouldn't it be? And just kind of fill in those areas that got kind of separated. You know, and it's a little more blurry. You know, I can take that section and sharpen it if I wanted it to, move it down to another layer. But why? I don't know if anybody's going to notice it. Also, you know, that's just in the mock-up. You know, we're going to take this and we're going to vectorize this so that we can make our screens the screen printed. And so, you know, it's going to reduce all that blurriness anyways, and we'll get rid of that when we vectorize it. And that I do on Illustrator, so that's not going to be done here. But anyways, this is our new design. And if you know of the holiday, if you have Icelandic heritage, you know of anybody who is Icelandic, this is the perfect gift for the holidays. Come to aspbtees.com and buy one, because it's what you should do. And we all know it. Everybody that's watching, and me included, know this is what should be done. So I'm going to again just take a quick moment here before we get started, and I'm probably going to just take a quick break and go get some water or some soda to help with my throat a little bit. But let me see if I have any questions before we do this. I can see people are watching, but there's no questions. So I'm going to step away for 2 seconds. I'll be right back. I think I'm going to go over and get me a soda, diet soda. And then we'll get started on the Nordic dragon and how to draw that easily. And these are just tools and techniques I know from using this wonderful sketching app that I've used for years. It's called Sketch Club. And, you know, I'm probably partial to it because I know how to use it really well. And, you know, I've been using it for years and doing all kinds of tricks with it. So, be right back. I think I should do a t-shirt for the midterms elections that says I survived the midterm elections, and have, like, you know, a voting ticket with the hanging chads hanging off of it. I wonder if anybody would buy that. I think it's funny. All right. So we have done this one, and can you see on that little, on the backboard, that design right there? And again, you know, if this, when I was doing this design, I have to keep in mind of the printing process. You know, quite frankly, if I was doing this for, you know, just the artwork, I would take that background there and I would blur it a little bit, because, you know, the way our eyes focus is going to tend to focus, well, where I want it to focus is on the cross stitch on the pillow. And so what I would do, you know, typically if it was just a regular drawing, is I would take that entire background of the Celtic knotting and of the Nordic dragon, and I would just blur it a little bit. And so, you know, it would just wouldn't pop out quite as much and give you a little more distinction, or a little more depth perception to the drawing itself. But because we are putting this on a t-shirt, I need nice crisp lines all the way across. And that's one thing that you have to keep in mind when you're doing a drawing like this, is you're not going to be able to screen print. Well, you could. It would be, it would let me take that back. You could do it where you could use halftones on the background and solid lines on the forefront, on the pillow, the book, the ribbon, chocolate, and all that stuff. And have that nice crisp lines, and then use halftones on the back and give it that depth perception. But wow, that would be quite a process. You would either have to be a very bored hobbyist to do it, or make sure that you're going to make some good money on that run of t-shirts. So, you know, that being said, we are not going to do it that way. We are going to design it like we would traditionally for a t-shirt, so we can print it on demand when people want it, and we don't have to line up a crazy number of microscopic screens to get the exact print that we need. So, anyhow, this is the design we have, and this is how we have designed it. And we are going to get working on our dragon. So let's make this go away. Let's get down here and see if hopefully I kept the dragon. Yeah, I can create a lot of different layers if I have to go back and fix something. And I debated a long time about whether or not to leave those pages blank or to add, you know, some script in there. So I just scribbled on the pages, you know, to give it some script. And I figured we'd go ahead and do it. You know, you got to also be a little concerned about making things too busy. And it's one thing that I tend to do. I tend to over design a little bit and make things too busy. So, you know, if we added the text in here, you know, we're making the page look a lot more busy. There's a lot more for the eye to take in, and it's also taking away from what we want to say, which is Merry Holiday. And so, but since we're going to add that ribbon on top of it, it kind of covers a lot of that up. So you'll see what I'm talking about here. Let me get rid of that, but you can see how it took away a lot of that writing, and it just kind of toned it down a little bit. But also, you know, if you look at the chocolate, the book, and the frame around it, all that's kind of busy, but the pillow's open, so it draws the eye in there as well. So, you know, I think it works. I like the design personally. So we'll just kind of cover this back up. I get off on tangents. I apologize. And let's see, where's our Nordic dragon? There he is. I just said that like I was talking to my 5-year-old kid. There he is. Let's see if we can find the bear. All right, so this is the dragon that I drew. And you can see that, again, it's making kind of a knot. And I put this little frame around it. And this was what I had done originally, the black frame. And then later, you know, I didn't like it. It looked like tiles. And I didn't want it to look like tiles, and the square is too uniform. So I went in there and I created the Celtic knots and put that as the divider between the designs. But so I'm just going to leave this up here so we can take a look at it. And I'm going to add another layer on top of it and show you, you know, what actually I need a couple layers. So on this one, I'm going to draw another square. All right, and this is nice and light, which is perfect, and I'll come up here above it. Now, when they do a lot of these knots, even with the dragons, a lot of times they'll fit into other shapes. So, you know, they'll put a design, but they'll have it fit into a circle, or they'll have it fit into a square, or a triangle. You see a lot. And so you can draw, if you want to do it that way, and so that you can, because usually there's a bigger design around it. You know, but sometimes these are, you know, the majority of the design is here, and then you have the different shapes that fall into it. It depends on how you want to do it. So, you know, what I did is I simply created a square because I knew I wanted it to be inside of a square, because I wanted it to be a pattern. At first, I was thinking of doing it kind of like a woodcut into a headboard, but then to you know, to be able to do that, all the tapering that would have to be done, you know, you would have to probably show some lighter marks in there showing, you know, that it's wood. It was simply too intricate, and I think for, you know, designing for a t-shirt. I always look over here at the picture when I need to be looking there. Hello. So anyhow, so I'm going to draw the square here, and then what I do is I grab the brush, make sure that we're on freehand, and then we have the circle here. We want to make sure we have a nice fat nib. We want the nib to be about as wide as, you know, the line we want to make. That's good. That's a little big. All right. So what we want to do is we can start off the head here in the corner, and then all we're going to do is, see, I can tell I am on. Oh, opacity's not all the way up. Diet Mountain Dew. That's good stuff. All right. And then you simply just take it, and you can get one of these that smooths itself out if you wanted to. But you just draw some lines in here where the tail is going to be. And like I said, you can grab it so that you can put some smoothing into the brush, make it a little bit easier. But what's important to know is you can, you know, go back down to this layer here where you have the square, and you can just, you know, take a different color, just so you know, and then you can just come down here and lower this nib, and then say, okay, I want the head to be here, and it's going to be kind of triangular. And again, we've talked about, you know, drawing construction lines and, you know, using shapes in order to draw this. So, you know, we want most of the body to be relatively uniform. He's going to have 2 arms, so we're going to make this big, and they're going to taper down, but we'll take it somewhere in between, and then, you know, we can decide, okay, whoops, why did I do that? That's weird. We'll have an arm just kind of come over here, and then the other arm, they don't always, with the Nordic dragons, they don't put the arms on right across from each other. They tend to do it at different points on the design. So we would do it again on the, probably on the inside of the design here. And then we can do it this way, so they're next to each other. Or we could, you know, have it come up. That's probably cool, would be cooler if it was like that one. And then down here, we're going to have our tail, which is probably going to start right about, you know, here. And I didn't put it on here, but we want probably an area where our tail could curve. And this area over here would probably be better. So I'll probably get rid of that and just curve it around there. And then, you know, above this line here where the tail starts, you know, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to look here and we'll say, all right, let's put a leg, arm through there. And then we can grab one and just interweave it back this way. All right, so we've got 4 legs, we've got a head, and we've got a tail. So we're going to get off this layer and just, again, lower the opacity. And then we're going to get back up and start drawing on our layer again. Let's get that black back. And then, you know, to draw the head is pretty easy. You know, let's get in here and kind of erase this. And this way, you know, we just know where the head's going to be. But, you know, I didn't do anything earth-shattering for the head that I drew. You know, I wanted kind of ears going back and for it to look a little more angular, because I think angular is a little more intimidating for some reason. Don't know why. Maybe I was bullied when I was a kid by an angular-headed guy. And then, you know, from the ears, you know, the way I would do it is you can just kind of make this. Because the jaws and everything, well, let's see how this looks. I don't know, it might look too much like a rabbit or something. And then for the eyes, you know, I just put a line and then curved it back like that. I'm not sure if I did, you can do some designs here to kind of show that, he's spitting fire or something like that. I think that's what I did. I think this is a little too curved. We want those ears to look a little ominous. We don't want it to look like... I don't know. I think that's okay. So, we can get rid of this section underneath. We can come back in here at this point, and what I end up doing is I just kind of draw it out like this, and then I'll go back in and color things and make things the way that I want them to be. And I forgot to do something before we started on this, so I'm gonna throw another layer in here, and I'm gonna actually take this head that we just drew. I am going to try and move it down the next layer without destroying it too. That, and then I'll come back here, go up here and do copy down, clear it out, turn it off. All right, good, it's gone. All right, this, I can't believe I forgot to do this. This is an important part. You should do it before you start drawing the head. All right, let's see. Let's go back here and get rid of that. Deselect. Oh. All right, so let me turn off all this red down here. And what I want to do at this point is I want to simply come in back to that select tool that I had, and we are going to select the whole layer. And I'm on the other layer. To do that, I want to grab this eraser, come in here, and where it shows that it's not completely erased. We watched that show on Netflix last night about Robert de Bruce, and it was yeah, it was pretty good. I enjoyed it. I like Chris Pines. I think he's a good actor. That was fun. All right, let's see. Turn that back off. Go back here. Deselect that. Why is that still showing? See that? There it went away. All right, then we'll go back up here. We're on our select tool. Go to layer. It's going to select all of this. Now, what I want to do is go back in here and do expand. But what I'm going to do is give it a... There's two ways I can do it. I can either expand it, do it black, do it white, cut it out. But what I want to do is I want to create an outline of that. The other way that we can do it... Turn my camera back on so you can watch me take another sip of my Mountain Dew. Delicious. So we can either go out a little bit and then do a two-step, or just go in and erase it. If I expand it and then I go back to the other layer and recolor it white and merge it down, so I have that white and then the middle of the black expanded outline, I then have to go in and erase the white. So the better way to do it, in my opinion, is just to put in here a negative number. So we'll do like -3. See if that's too little. So we'll go back, and we will actually do -6. There we go. And see how the marching ants is on the inside. So that's what we want. And now we'll stay on this layer. We will grab the eraser and give us a nice fat nib. And then we're going to go in here and we are going to erase the part that's inside of the marching ants. Now it's transparent in there. Even though it looks white, it is now transparent, I promise. And so we can go in here, go back to our select tool, and we'll deselect it. And there we have an outline. And so then we just simply grab our tool here, and then we say, okay, this one's going to be, well, let's make it a little bit. Go back. We say, okay, this part of its body is going to be on top. We'll put, you know, this, we'll make this on top here, going this way. And then we can make it so that this goes under. Yeah, I like to kind of rotate it. I don't know why. I think it looks neat. Then we come up here and we can put, just confuse myself. Yeah, put this going. All right, so his body comes here, makes a loop, grab. So it comes here, makes a loop, goes under, round goes over, then under, and then under again, and then comes right here. And remember, we're going to put the tail in right around here, and we're actually going to start reducing that a little bit. And if you do this bigger, what you could do is a lot of times inside of there where I drew those red lines is they'll put like Celtic knots, or they'll do like a Nordic design that looks almost like cross hatching in there, and give it a little more texture and depth to it, so it's just not an open ribbon like that. But what we're basically doing is we're just taking this ribbon, putting a head on one end, head, that's not, you know, there, and you know, this is probably, this is too thin. Should have done it thicker. If you guys do this at home, do it thicker. What I will do though, instead of doing that, because I don't want to redo anything, because I'm really just doing this to show you how to do it, is we'll just proportionally make it bigger by head. Works for me. All right, look at that. It's enormous now. So, and then again, you can just take this right here. And what I want to do here, whoops, turn that layer back on of red. Really turn that opacity down. So what I want to do here is I want to take, you know, this back to back, make sure we're on there, of course. And I want to bring it into this corner of this square. So what I'm going to do, then I'm just going to stop there, and then I'm going to slowly widen it, you know, so that it comes back here, have it go there. And even here, you know, it should probably be a little more narrow. As we said, it was going to start here, so that's going to start slowly narrowing it that from that point forward. Oh. Guy that I'm playing is called Josh Woodward. He has copyright free music, which is awesome. I just got a weird beep. Oh. All right, and let me get my eraser and just reduce that nib. Whoop. So anyways, you know, you can play around here, making it different thicknesses. I don't think I'm going to spend too much time on it. Really wanted to show you guys how to do this. And it's taking longer than I had anticipated. Mostly because I can tend to be a little scatterbrained. Alright, so here, you know, I wanted to open it up here to the skull. You know, and again, the arms, you would just simply come in here and do kind of the same thing. You grab a new layer. We'll do it right up here. We can even make this, you know, lower the opacity on this layer. Get a fresh layer here. And, you know, we can do it the same way where we can quickly just make an outline of all of these. I don't like to do that. You know, it's not terribly hard to go over here and say, okay, I'm going to go under this one. I want to go over this one. You know, and the way I did is I kind of tapered down the arms until I got to a claw. And then, you know, you've got to have a thumb. Whoop, that's probably too center nib. You know. Anyways, you would put a little claw on it, and I would just give him like 3 fingers. So deadly, he doesn't need more than 3. Look at that. And this thing here, whoops. Doesn't look right, so I think I'd put it, do it like, you know, where his arm might be kind of turned upside down, kind of backwards. Oh, there you go. Neato. And again, keep in mind what you're trying to duplicate here is some ancient art. They didn't go into fine detail on these and, you know, spend a lot of time making it look like a clawed hand. They just gave the, you know, slightest suggestion that it was a clawed hand. So, you know, I wouldn't spend a whole lot of time on this, or it's not going to look like what you're trying to get it to look like, which is an ancient drawing from Nordic drawing. So you got to kind of make it, you know, look the way that it is, but you can still clean it. You know, just make sure you can tell that there's claws there. Anyways, and then what I did here, and we'll darken, increase the opacity one below it, and we can just merge this down. And then, you know, what you want to do, what I did is you've got to somehow show that it's separate from, you know, the ups and downs that we did of the body. So you can leave it like that if you want to. What I did just to kind of show that is I just kind of drew, you know, something like that. Make it look like there was some kind of artistic joint there, but to show that it was joined at that point, you know, and I would do the same thing on this one too when I got around to doing it. So anyways, that's how you do the tail. That's how you do the arms. And there you go. You have a Nordic dragon. You can come around here and, you know, darken different areas, put some design in there. You know, you could put a little, you know, kind of a ribbon along here like this if you wanted to. Kind of give it, you know, that kind of Norwegian design to it. Or not Norwegian. Nordic design. Yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of things. You put a dot in here, you know, go along. So, you know, just add some design to it. Try to thicken walls where they should be a little thicker, you know. But, you know, this should be look pretty much hand drawn, and it does because it is. And that's how you do it. And this is the one that I did, you know, over the weekend. So, you know, that's how it was done. I just fooled around with a little bit more. Honestly, I should have spent a little more time on that tail. But so anyways, that's that. And because I'm printing it on t-shirt, having this small design on it didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. So I just left it kind of open. So let me get rid of this. So here's our design. And we will definitely be offering this on a tote bag and probably a t-shirt as well. Sorry, I leaned back so back from the mic, but everybody should have been able to hear me okay. So anyways, let me take a moment here and just check our chat boxes. I would love to be able to chat with anybody who's watching. And we will go from here. Okay, what time is it? 11:38. Okay, well it took a little bit longer than I anticipated, but we're getting back to our regular 2 hours, which is great. If anybody's just dropping in, I appreciate you doing that. One thing I would like to ask everybody to do is please leave a comment. If you leave a comment, you will be entered into our drawing for either a t-shirt or a tote bag that we will be drawing later this week on Thursday. And let's see here. Please either subscribe, like our page. We do this every day at 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And we are going to be improving on this every day. But I think that it's a nice time for people to come by, chat a little bit, see what we're working on. You know, and also, you know, if you're interested in picking up some design skills, you know, maybe at some point I'll move over and do some stuff on Photoshop and Illustrator. But most of the stuff that I do, you really just use those two to clean things up. You know, I like to sketch things out by hand. I think it makes it look more authentic. And I just like working on the iPad a lot more than I do trying to manipulate a mouse. You know, I have a program that will mirror the Photoshop onto my iPad so I can draw it there. But still, I like it better just working with the sketching app, bringing it over, cleaning it up in Photoshop if I need to, and then vectorizing it. You know, there's very little that I can do on Photoshop that I can't do on the iPad. I might be able to do a little bit quicker, but you know, this just gives me the most control, and is where I feel the most comfortable. And Photoshop's a little bit of a time saver, but not dramatically, you know, for what I'm doing. And part of the reason is I have to keep in mind while I'm doing this that I am doing this to print on textiles. And so, you know, that it's not just a digital drawing. So anyhow, I got to be conscious of colors. I've got to be conscious of the crispness of the lines. And I also need to be aware of the dot gain when we do print. So, you know, if you're designing anything for a t-shirt, those are the things you need to consider. You also need to consider your dimensions, which we've talked about many times. And so anyways, the other thing that I was thinking about doing, and I might, I think we'll start on this tomorrow, is I was thinking about doing a design called, it's spelled pronounced yuge. It's a word from Denmark, and what it does is it describes coziness. And so, you know, we were thinking about, at least I was thinking about, is saying something along the lines of "back off, I'm getting my yuge on." And I thought that would be kind of a cute, fun T-shirt for the holidays. But you know, my wife wasn't sure about saying "back off," that it might be kind of a negative connotation. But I think what it's saying is, you know, give me some space. You want it to be humorous. You know, give me some space. I need some quiet to get nice and cozy. Anyways, you know, we were thinking about doing that. So that might be something that I'll tackle tomorrow. You know, tomorrow might be, maybe tomorrow I'll just do a Celtic knot day and doodle out a bunch of different Celtic knots, or show you how to do a couple more intricate designs. So anyways, what I would like to do, I wonder if I can get that somewhere and just pull it in. It'd be nice to have kind of like grid paper, but just an existing grid paper, but just the dots, just the circles, you know, without the grid. And then, you know, you wouldn't have to draw anything out. You could just use whatever section you wanted, however big you wanted to make it, or intricate. But and I can show you more of that, about how to draw the break lines, so that you can take those basic, you know, skills that I showed you, put some break lines in the design, and then you can come up with all kinds of interesting, really neat designs. And that's all that it takes. You know, it's not terribly complicated. You know, the dragon's not terribly complicated. It's just knowing how to manipulate your drawing app so that you can make it easy on yourself, and going in and just, you know, filling in some of the small parts. So I think that is everything that I wanted to cover today. Again, I can't stress you enough for you to come over and visit askpts.com. We have some great gifts and t-shirts. It is just a great place to shop for the holidays. Also, this is my family's business, so you'd be supporting a family, and we greatly appreciate that. And also, we do this every day at 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And we're getting some of the bugs. We've been doing this for about 2 weeks now, and we're getting some of the bugs worked out. And so we're getting smoother and better every day. So please start joining us. We would really like you to come by and just say hi, ask any questions that you might have. And this is the design that we finished over the weekend. And so we should be mocking it up and having it up on our Shopify or Etsy page relatively soon. So come by, take a look at it. It'll be great on a tote bag where you can carry books around. Terrific for the holidays, and a great gift for anybody that you know that's Icelandic or loves to read. So I want to thank everybody for joining us today, and I will see everybody tomorrow. Thanks so much. Have a wonderful day. Go out, do something productive, and we will see you tomorrow.